And the more that you're consistent with this, that you're fully dedicated to it, and every single time your system gets triggered, you apply the teaching, the more deeply you'll become anchored in presence. And the more deeply anchored in presence you are, the less you'll be pulled into identification with thought. If you imagine it like the window and the sunlight shining through, but there's curtains closed. When the curtains are closed, it seems like the sun's not there, but it's still there shining. And some people experience these curtains just opening fully, like, and the sun just blasts through, and then the curtains don't close again. But that kind of experience seems to be more rare. And a lot of people wait for that one moment when that happens. But it's much more common, just from what I've seen, talking with people and sharing about this. The curtains sometimes open, maybe halfway, or even a little bit, or even sometimes fully, and then close again, or close partially, or they open and close, and then it's like this. But the tendency is that when the teachings are applied with consistency over time, it opens more and more and more, becomes more stabilized, so it closes less. So what this analogy refers to is identification with the conceptual self and the phenomena of remembering and forgetting one's true nature, like a pendulum. So this is one of the greatest paradoxes in spirituality, that if you bring all your attention fully present into this moment, it's only in this moment now that you can recognize the deeper dimension of truth beyond the conceptual self. And it's only by recognizing that in the now, every now, that over time, on the level of form, a transformation takes place. So it's both at the same time. And you notice over time that, oh, there's less suffering. I remember a year ago, I was living more in drama, having more drama than life. And now everything's more peaceful. And it can even be kind of slow, and don't even notice it so much. But just one day you realize, oh, there is more peace, there is more love in my life, there's more gratitude, there's just this simplicity of living in presence and enjoying the moment, the contentment. But the mind is a drama queen, and it wants to have this big exotic experience, like these moments we can tell a story that I awakened and then I saw these lights and my chakra was doing this, and then I saw a vision of Krishna, and it's just the mind's fantasy that there's this amazing thing going to happen. The reality is much more ordinary, but in the ordinariness, there is a recognition of the divine majesty. So there's a lot of paradoxes. as you live moment to moment in presence, then higher consciousness begins to infiltrate the different levels of the form. So the conditionings of the mind and the mind stories that have been running, that have been causing suffering, reveal themselves in the light of consciousness. They're seen. And as they're seen, there's a great relief. They fall away. And any unprocessed emotions or tightness that's in the body comes up so that it can be gently felt, so that it can be touched by the beauty of this unconditional love. And it penetrates through these layers of energy in the body, and that integrates over time. What happens is that the way that the form expresses becomes more and more in tune and in alignment with the truth of who you are, your true nature. And once there's an understanding of this process, if a system gets triggered or a tightness comes up, there's no longer the idea that, oh, I've done it wrong or I've forgotten my practice. There's a welcoming of it because there's a knowing that this is the best thing for me. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but this is good. Because if this didn't come up, I wouldn't have opportunity to allow this part to be met in unconditional love and be transmuted. So then when the challenge comes in life, you go spend some time with your family, for example, and all those old patterns get activated. There's not a spiritual me that's identified with that's saying, oh, I should know better, I shouldn't have yelled at my brother or my sister like that. There's a deeper wisdom that recognizes, wow, what a gift this situation is, because it's allowing me to see more clearly. It's allowing these unconscious parts to come into the light. And then there's gratitude for what before might have been perceived as something bad or negative happening. And when the uncomfortable emotion or tension comes up, there's a gratitude because now there's opportunity to include it in this moment, to feel it. And if you notice that identifications happened or semi-identifications happened, partial identification, which is what sounds like you experience, you'll recognize what that feels like because you can discern, because you know what it's like to be fully present with those curtains wide open. And so that recognition in the moment acts like a reminder. There's recognition that there's partial identification with a story or a sensation. Okay, so let me bring my attention fully present now. Am I aware that I'm aware? Am I aware of the body breathing? Am I aware of the background stillness? How sweetly can I meet this tension? How gently can I allow it to be felt? And then there's an opening to it. And so when you forget, that becomes part of your practice, part of your remembering. And the more that you're consistent with this, that you're fully dedicated to it. That means every single time your system gets triggered, you apply the teaching, the more deeply you'll become anchored in presence. And the more deeply anchored in presence you are, the less you'll be pulled into identification with thought.